Hello, everybody, and welcome to our post-draft edition of Believe in Lions. It's brought to you by FanDuel. I am Trevor Thompson, joined once again by the star of the show, your fan favorite, former Lions All-Pro safety Glover Quin, back with us today, and the co-host of the preferred walk-on college football show and NFL analyst, Dalton Wasserman, joins us once again for a recap of this year's draft. All 3 rounds in the books, all 3 days in the books, all 7 rounds, and it was exciting from start to finish. So, GQ, let you start things off with Dalton here today and what you're thinking about the draft as a whole looking back. Let's get the show started.
Well, first of all, appreciate you being on the show with us. And I know you said it's been a long weekend. I mean, it's a lot that go into this draft and hours and scouting. And I don't really know how you guys do it. But just based on the overall draft, not just talking Lions right now, but just based on the overall draft, what was your take on, the first round, the guys? Did it fall pretty much how you guys thought, or was it some surprises in that round?
I would say I got what I expected in the sense of the first 14 or 15 picks. I think we knew compared to the rest of the class, the elite guys that we knew were going to go in the top 15 for the most part. That part, team fits are one thing and you're trying to narrow it down. But for the most part, the first 15 or so players, that was pretty much the first 15 or so that I expected. After that, it got to be a wild ride. I mean, I think the second you got to that 16, late teens, early 20s range, and then we saw it especially in the back end of the second round there that things got really unpredictable. I think the 2 things for me was I just had no idea. Every time I would do a mock for the last 3 months, I would get to right around pick 15 and I would go, okay, now I don't know what's going to happen, right? And that's kind of how it works. So that was a roller coaster. And then you could just feel it, especially on day 2 in the second round. It was such a heavy defensive draft class. This was the draft class that if you wanted to get better at all 3 levels, D-line, linebacker, secondary, that's where you were going to get better. Now there was depth at wide receiver, but didn't have top-end elite prospects like we've had in some past years. Quarterbacks obviously was a story. We got, 4 of them on the first 2 days, but really only one that people think is a surefire starter right now. So, I think there were certain positions, some of the flashier positions, it was thinner, and you saw some teams take some dart throws based on traits, but heavy defensive draft, and it got unpredictable pretty quick on us after the top 15.
So the draft is 3 days. So you guys literally sit there and you're watching every pick, and what are you I'm really so what are you guys doing? You're watching the pick and you're comparing who's getting picked versus who you think is going to get picked. Do you guys bet on how many you guys get?
That's
what is in this thing?
I didn't do any betting this year. I know some people that do. I know some people that are they're doing the over-unders on the picks and things like that. And it's funny you mentioned that because it's the first time in 3 or 4 years that I haven't really done any work-related things or shows during the draft. So we just kind of posted up at my place, me and the rest of the guys, because we're not with PFF anymore. So there's a handful of us up here in Cincinnati that were just all right, let's watch it as fans for the first time in a while, right? We all made a rule. We were hey, don't get any of the tells on Twitter. Don't get any of the picks early. We're going to see it as it gets announced. So it was kind of weird. It was this weird new old experience where it was just yeah, okay, let's watch it as fans and see how we get the live. We should have filmed it, honestly, because we had a great time the first 2 nights especially. We should have filmed the first round. But I'll tell you, when the Jets took D'Angelo Pons, I was through the moon. I was oh, we're living right now. But no, I mean, we had a good time. And I did a boatload of tweeting because, Max Chadwick and I on our show, we did a lot of top 10 draft rankings at each position and stuff. And we had one off this. So a whole lot of tweeting was going on too. And just getting to get the more visceral reactions of that from obviously myself and even around the whole industry of what everybody thinks. That's what makes the draft community so fun is you just get so many different opinions on something that in theory, everybody should think the same thing on, but not really because all 32 teams are different and every player is different.
Dalton, it is a Lions show, and I do want to get to the Lions, but the Lions picked 17th, and before they got to them, there was a surprise in my mind. And you said the top 15 shook out the way you thought it might, but the Ty Simpson pick to the Rams, where did you land on that? Did you see that coming? A lot of controversy about that. I don't know what that's going to mean as far as, Matthew Stafford, he's going to be a pro, but they had to call him that day and say, hey, we're taking a QB. A bit of a surprise there for most. What did you think about that pick in particular before we get to the Lions a few picks later?
That was the one wild pick in the top 15 I didn't see coming, right? I mean, so let's say the other 14 were roughly within the range. And then I really thought with the Rams, when they traded pick 29, to Kansas City for Trent McDuffie. I thought that was going to take them out of Ty Simpson. I figured when they had the 2 first-round picks that they would go receiver or something else at 13, maybe a Caleb, that whatever would have fallen to them at 13. And then if Ty was there at 29 or if they wanted to trade up, then they might have gone to get him. But I did not think at any point in this process they were going to take him straight up at 13. I had Ty number 36 on my board. I thought he was closer to more of a borderline first if you needed him, second rounder if it's more of a luxury type of pick. I didn't think they were doing that, especially with the fact that everything else they've done this offseason, the McDuffie trade, the Jalen Watson signing, so many things pointed to we're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and that's our goal. And Ty, it almost reminded me of when the Packers first drafted Jordan Love, when that Aaron Rodgers-led team, and he won an MVP that year in 2020, they were ready to go win a Super Bowl. And they were maybe a receiver or a corner short because they took a second quarterback and a third running back with the first 2 picks. So it's going to be fascinating to see. I think Ty, look, I think he was worthy of probably more of a later first-round pick, but I do think for his career, you couldn't ask for a better situation, right? I mean, you've got one of the best offense, if not the best offensive mind in football, and Sean McVay. He gets to sit behind Matthew Stafford for however long and just learn, just like he did at Alabama. He sat for 3 years and he got occasional mop-up work and all of that his first couple of years. So I think it's a great thing for his career, because I always felt this whole time he needs to sit for a bit. I think at least a year to sit and just understand NFL pass protections and pressure plans and have all of that. And he's a coach's son. He's going to be able to learn and soak everything in that he can from 2 of the best minds in the game in McVay and Stafford. But considering the Rams' goals in 2026 with Stafford as the quarterback, it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking to see him get taken right there straight up at 13.
Well, Stafford is GQ's guy. That's his former teammate. What's he going to learn from that guy?
I mean, he's going to obviously learn a lot, but I agree with Dalton. Like, I feel like the Rams, I mean, unless they know something about Stafford that we don't know. I mean, Stafford could be year to year, right? I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. But if I'm trying to go and win a Super Bowl right now, I think I would have rather probably got somebody that can help me win a Super Bowl this year. And then my quarterback would have had to been kind of like a Russell Wilson situation or a Brock Purdy, like somebody that I felt like was a good player that I could get later in the draft, and then they can learn behind Stafford and trust that with them having a great offensive coordinator, a great offensive coach, great people around him, he's going to end up being a pretty good player. But right now we need somebody that's going to affect and help us this year. And unless Stafford get hurt, I don't know if Ty Simpson is going to get an opportunity this year. So, but I mean, he's behind a good one. Staff's my dog. Everybody know that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. That was surprising.
Yeah, it was. But even looking at it now, when you go to the FanDuel odds, the Rams in the NFC are still the favorites to take the NFC at plus 350. Is it plus 380 here? I'm looking, and Lions come in 4th right now, followed by in the NFC North, the Packers at 6 and the Bears at 8. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Although they made a strange pick, they still are the favorites, according to FanDuel, to come out on top of the NFC. Now let's get to the Lions at number 17. We did a post-game show after the first round the other night, Dalton. Glover and I jumped on. And Blake Miller was the pick. The first time I heard Blake Miller that high, you mentioned his name, and I told Glover as much the other night when we talked about him. You said the kid, 54 starts, plug and play, 10-year pro, set it and forget it. Give us an update now, what you think now that is the guy, how he fits, and just reassure Lions fans that they did indeed do the right thing at 17.
I think of this offensive tackle group, and this was what I was so curious about, is where was this run going to be? What order were these guys going to go in, and how quick? Because we got, 7 tackles in the first round, and then there was a huge drop-off from there. What you're getting with Blake Miller is experience and toughness. I think this is a tone-setting pick, really, for the entire Lions draft class, that they're looking for physicality at every position, as Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes always have here with this franchise, right? And Blake Miller, he brings that, man. I won't call – he's not an A athlete necessarily, A-plus athlete like a Spencer Fano or Monroe Freeling, but it's probably B to B plus with the athleticism. To be honest, he's got a well-rounded game that's pretty B to B plus across the board, right? So I think when you look at what they were looking for and the intentions of moving Penei Sewell over to the left side, you're getting a safe player. Like I said, I don't think he has the highest ceiling, maybe like a Spencer Fano or Monroe Freeling, but I think you're getting a really solid physical football player that I think will start for 2 contracts for this team. He's just one of the of all the tackles that we had in this class that are either projects or had questions about moving moving inside. I don't have as many questions about Blake Miller. Like, he's a very safe, solid pick to me. And I don't mind that in the first round. They had a chance. They could have taken the chance on Freeling, who's a little earlier in his development, but the experience and the toughness and the physicality of Miller, I think definitely won there. And having 54 starts, with high-level competition, playing there at Clemson, he's played in playoff games and things of that nature. I think it's a good pick. I really do. And this is the luxury you have with Penei Sewell as one of your tackles too.
Anything you're curious about there as far as Dalton's thoughts on that pick, G?
No, I mean, I think what he said is spot on. I mean, I think the thing I like about O-lineman, in my opinion, I just like gritty guys. I like guys that, I don't know if I like the sexy pick as an O-lineman. I think I like the guy that is not the sexy pick, and I'm not saying that the sexy guys can't turn into be, Hall of Famers and great guys, you know what I'm saying? We've seen it. But I just think sometimes you get that guy that, like you said, maybe he's a B plus, so now he got that chip on his shoulder because people are saying he's not this, and he's just gritty, and he's just had to get it the hard way his whole life and his whole career, and he's just one of those guys that you look up and 10 years later you're like, man, this guy's been an anchor on his O-line for a long time. And so I think I kind of like those intangibles in the O-lineman. Obviously, the way you play on Sundays is what we all remember, and what we all judge you based off of. So if he can go out there on Sundays and get the job done, I think, everything I've heard so far, I like.
Mm-hmm. Lions moved up twice in the draft, and it began in the second round when they moved up 6 spots. And when I was on with you last, Dalton, I was banging the drum for Zion Young at that spot. He then went 45th after the Lions went 44th and went to the University of Michigan to get Derek Moore on the edge. Break that pick down for us and why you think it was Moore over Zion Young, and just educate us there.
Very close between these two players. I mean, they're both, similar in how they rush for power. I think Young is a little bit heavier when it comes to his lower body, but Derek Moore over the last 2 years really been one of the most productive pass rushers in the country. He brings a really good arsenal. He brings some good speed to power with him. Doesn't have a ton of length, so he's not a guy that I always want, reducing down inside and playing the run necessarily, but you just talk about a pure defensive end or even a guy who can stand up and just give you solid across the board. It's kind of like Blake Miller, to be honest with you. I can't say there's necessarily one standout trait with Derek Moore, but he's pretty much B to B plus in his entire skill set, right? The only thing I'm not wicked comfortable with is maybe, him getting inside and working against double teams and things like that, but he's not going to do that often anyway. It's kind of like with Aiden Hutchinson, how they don't do that too often. And of course, it's always good up in Detroit to get 2 Michigan Wolverines there rushing the passer too. But I think with Moore, it's very similar. I think you got a lot of this with a lot of these draft picks for the Lions, and Moore's right there where you just got a steady, same guy every week ball player, and he's got the potential, especially as your number 2 edge rusher. We saw it. He's played on loaded defensive lines, and then a lot of those guys at Michigan went high in the draft, first round even. And then this year it comes back. It's like, okay, Derek Moore is the guy for the Wolverines, right? But can he be the guy when he's the guy now? When all of a sudden Mason Graham and everybody's gone, he proved it, man. One of the most productive pass rushers. The win rates are great. Doesn't have a ton of length. Maybe the tackling will be an issue at times, but he's solid. He's really solid. It won't shock me at all if he's starting across from Hutchinson very soon.
At 118, they go to U of M again for Jimmy Rolder, a linebacker. So they've got a trio of Wolverines on the defensive side of the ball right now. GQ, just want your perspective on this right now. We talked about them maybe having needs in their backfield with the safeties, with the corners, not knowing what's up with Tyrie and Arnold, what's going on with Kirby Joseph, and there's some they're unsure at that spot. You go and get a linebacker, you don't do anything in your secondary. What are your thoughts of a move like that? And maybe Dalton will chime in after GQ's thoughts and tell us why you think they might have done that and how that helps them.
Well, I mean, I'm a player, so that's the way my brain thinks. I probably should start transitioning to a former player. But at the end of the day, maybe they know stuff that we don't know. They got to know stuff that we don't know because, I mean, when you look at it on paper or hear the stories, we don't know what's going on with Brian Branch. From how's he gonna? I mean, is he gonna even be able to play this year? I don't know what's going on with Kirby Joseph. Maybe you guys know what's going on with Kirby, and then, like you say, the Tyrie Young, like, I don't know. And that's not great going into the offseason this part of the season with your secondary. Like we done got through free agency. You didn't make any big moves. We done got through the draft. So you're basically saying that you're okay with the secondary that you have right now. So they must know stuff that we don't know. And I just got to leave it at that, because to go and get the linebacker, yeah, we lost Anzalone, and you need guys in the front seven that can play, right? You need those guys. But I'm a defensive back, man. And if you don't have guys in the back end that can make plays and turn the ball over for you, it's just a struggle, because you're not going to always be able to get to the passer. You're not going to, you need some guys on the back end so that everything can work hand in hand. Because when it works hand in hand, it makes everybody look better. When you got good enough coverage on the back end, it gives the D-line time to get there. When you got good enough D-line pressure and you got good coverage on the back end, everything just works great, and linebackers are able to flow freely, have fun, make tackles, make plays in the middle, and you got a really good defense. When you're lacking on one of those levels of the defense, it's just a struggle for everybody. So maybe they know something that we don't know, and you just got to trust the front office. But man, it's tough.
So Dalton, why'd they grab this kid?
I think, look, again, physicality. I think you're talking about a player that Dan Campbell looks at and he watches on tape, and there's certain ones that he's going to go, man, I just need him, right? Like, just certain guys are just dogs, right? And Rolder, Jimmy Rolder, also Michigan Wolverines. Again, I mean, you're talking about a program that creates such a physical presence, right? Like, that's always been Michigan for the last at least decade, and really probably always their whole history is like, we're going to whoop you up front. We're going to whoop you in the box. And if you want to win, you better be special talented on the perimeter, because you're not out physicaling us. I think Rolder, he's one of those tone setting type guys, right? It's a little bit like Derek Barnes, where it's like, hey, I need you to get in there and thump somebody. If a team's got a fullback in the game, blow them up. Pulling guard, blow them up, make tackles, make plays in the box. So I get it. I get why Dan Campbell, especially specifically, likes this player. And you're right. I mean, day 3 is about building depth, and you'd like to see it at different areas. But, I think they did. I think they did a nice job on day 3 in a couple of different spots, building that depth. And at some point, too, my thought on what Glover was saying about the DBs, too, and a lot of them coming off injuries, is at some point this injury luck has got to swing back in their favor just a little bit. I mean, they're just a mash unit. They're just a mash unit out there last year. So at some point, and you're right in the sense of, we don't know what they know. That could be a good thing too. Maybe we don't know that Branch and Joseph are completely healthy and they're fine, and Tyrie maybe making the next step in his development and all this. Maybe they know a lot of good things that we don't. They could come out and surprise us, but they got to be healthier too. I mean, when that first unit is on the field, especially Branch and Joseph are healthy, it can be a good unit. But man, they just got to stay on the field together. It's tough.
Yeah, and I think we all just gotta assume that even if they're both out there this year, I mean, Kirby missed the last 12 games or so with a knee. So it had to have been something pretty serious. Branch is coming off of an Achilles injury. So even if they're out there this year, they're not going to be the players that we probably seen from a year or two ago. They're not going to be that this year. We can probably agree that that's not going to be the case. And to say that they'll be able to get through another season unfazed, that's a tough stretch as well. So I'm always concerned about the secondary. I always been that way. When I went to training camp last year and they were at full strength and I watched practice and I was just like, I'm concerned about the secondary, Trev.
Yeah, you said one of the first things you said. It really was.
I'm like,
I'll never forget it. You were peeking
I
around
don't know
that
if we
corner.
have the depth. Like I just didn't see it. And then it showed itself in the season. So because you just use so many of these guys, man. So but let's get back on topic.
Well, we are on topic because with the next pick, they didn't address that need either. They went for a wide receiver in Kendrick Law out of Kentucky. He'll take Khalif Raymond's place, return punts, be a special team guy, and maybe he's got more to offer. But you had to go all the way to 157 when they finally did grab a DB, and that was Keith Abney. And you really liked that pick, Dalton. Tell us why.
It's their biggest steal. To be honest with you, Abney was a much more talented player than a 5th-round pick. He's a little bit smaller, obviously. He might even have some nickel versatility to him. He did it a little bit at Arizona State, so you might see him as a guy that they kick inside. But I'm going to be honest with you, every draft scout that I either looked at their boards or talked to or whatever, every person I knew had this as a top 75 player. It might just be lack of tools, lack of size. I know there's been some concerns that he might have maybe relatively average speed, but he's an aggressive player. I really like him in zone coverage. coverage a lot. I even think a move inside to the nickel could do a lot of benefit for him. And we know the Lions are hurting at that position. When I look at their secondary, I'm like, who's playing the nickel? Who is it? Is it Terrion Arnold going to move inside? Is it somebody else? Is it, because with Amik Robertson gone, could it be Keith Abney? But man, this is a talented player. He's really competitive. He's, he's fundamentally sound in zone coverage. He's aggressive for his size, especially. He can help you in run defense, and he makes plays on the ball. So one of the more shocking developments for me was the fall of Keith Abney, because I basically every mock that I had done, and really a lot of people had done, had him either like from mid-second to maybe 75 at the latest. And this was a legitimate top 75 player. I got to see where I had him on my board, honestly, because I had him as a pretty solid, like close to, if not a solid second-round pick here. But, I mean, it's odd. It's odd to me that he's the guy that fell. I had him 56 on my board. So it must just be that he doesn't have elite tools. And sometimes at corner, teams will just go, all right, give me the guy who's 6'2" and 6'3", and I see him press man and all that. But his ability in zone coverage, his footwork is really good. He's an aggressive player who makes up for the lack of size. I think this could eventually be a sneaky starting caliber candidate one day, especially in the nickel.
What sort of intangibles make a guy like that functional and, I guess, useful, whether he's a starter or a backup in that situation, G?
I mean, to play the nickel, or to play defensive back, to play backup defensive back, first of all, you got to have, like you said, you got to be tough. To play on the inside, you got to be tough. It's like people just throw guys on the inside. It's hard to play on the inside. Like, it moves really fast in there because you're kind of like a linebacker. So you got to be in the run game, you got to be in the pass game, and then you're covering these guys. We talk about a speed thing, and it's like, okay, we might have to put him in the nickel. Some of the faster, quicker guys are in the slot. Like the faster, the little hard, shifty guys to cover are in the slot. So you got to, for one, you got to be smart. You got to be tough. You got to be physical, and you got to have an edge about you to play defensive back. Period. But especially on the inside, you got to have an edge on you, and that's one of the biggest things. And so I feel like the best nickels that I know, and I can put myself in there because that's what I got drafted to be, was a nickel. And I had never played nickel. I didn't play nickel in college. But they liked my physicality. They liked my toughness. They liked my tackling. And they felt like I was smart enough to do it. And those intangibles helped me play on the inside. And then when I got to Detroit, we drafted Quandre Diggs. He was in the nickel. He's another guy that was tough. He was physical. He was smart, had good ball skills. And so when you just start to look around the league and you see guys that can play on the inside, you got to be smart. You got to be tough. You got to be physical, and you can survive. But it's you got to have a little edge on you to play in there, for sure.
Hey, Dalton, when we were last on, we talked about the Lions having 3 picks from 212, 205 to 222. They traded one of those, but they drafted the other 2, and you got Skyler, Gill, Howard, and Tyrie West on the D-line. Is there anything there? These guys practice squad fodder? Are these guys backup material? What do you see there short and long term for those kids?
I'm especially curious on Gil Howard because I think he's got potential, at least early in his career, as maybe a situational pass rusher type. This guy, before he went to Texas Tech this past year, he was an absolutely dominant player at Northern Illinois. He was just terrorized MAC offensive lines like crazy, enough that it got him taken in the portal to Texas Tech, where they had arguably the best D-line in the country. And for a little over half of the season, he was a big part of the best defensive line in the country. A little bit smaller, 280, 290 pounds he plays at, but quick as a cat, man. I'm telling you, he makes up for the size with the agility and quickness and hand usage. I think this is somebody who early in his career, if he's recovered now, his season ended because of a knee injury. I think if he didn't have a knee injury, he would have probably gotten taken maybe 2 rounds earlier. Still undersized, but you talk about a shifty 3 technique that can come in and rush the passer. I like him a lot. I really do. I think if he didn't get hurt and he got to play with that team on that defensive line for the rest of the season with David Bailey and Romello Height and all those guys, I think you could have gone, within the top 120 to 130. he's really good, man. I'm telling you. You don't want to get him, expose him too much on early downs, especially coming off the injury, get him in double teams and things like that. But he really is. He's fun. He's fun to watch, especially fun to watch him rush the passer if he gets one-on-one opportunities. And then West is a grinder, man. I mean, that Tennessee team, they've been coming out with so many athletic defensive linemen. James Pierce last year, Josh Josephs this year. They just have these hockey shifts where he could be a good rotational piece, but they come out, they get all these athletic freaks, and then they do these big hockey shifts with their defensive line, and he made his way into a really talented rotation. But I'm especially of the two really intrigued with Gil Howard if he's healthy.
Hey, G, something new here. I'm not sure if you heard this, but the Lions have decided to do away with rookie camp this year. They're going to integrate the rookies in a different way and try to make them more a part of the regular process going forward. How does that affect things? How would that affect a kid coming in, maybe looking forward to that opportunity in rookie camp? But what's the sort of the thought, the philosophy behind that, and how can it affect guys going forward?
That's perfect. That's how it was for me when I came out. Yeah, I didn't have rookie minicamp. I got drafted, and I didn't show up to Houston till 3 weeks later. And Coach Gary Kubiak was the coach, and his whole thing was, hey, man, these guys' lives just changed. These guys got drafted. They got so much stuff going on. Why bring these guys in on this weekend and fly in a whole bunch of guys that I'm not going to sign, I'm not going to keep? We know they can't play. We don't want them. And now they out here. They're out here with these guys that we just drafted. Nobody knows the offense. Nobody knows the defense. And I'm risking these guys that we just drafted, wasting this time. Why do that? You know what? We're going to let them come out in 3 weeks. They're going to show up. They're going to go through OTAs with the veterans. They're going to sit through install with the veterans. They're going to practice with the veterans. They're going to learn how to practice. They're going to learn how to play and all these different things. And then at the end, when it's time for mandatory minicamp, I'm not going to make my veterans go out there and run another go ball. I know what Amon-Ra St. Brown can do. I know what Jared Goff can do. But now I can have a mini camp. I can have my rookies in here, and I can have my first and second year players, some of my third year players that are not starters on my defense, on my offense. Those guys can participate in your mini camp. And now I don't have to spend all this money bringing in all these guys that I know I'm not going to keep anyway. So I'm all for not having these rookie mini camps.
You're fired up
guys. I mean, these guys' whole life is their whole world is spinning right now. They're getting calls and this every day, and now you're trying to get them to come out. They got to go through a mini camp and practice, and bro, give them time to relax, come in, get around the veterans, let things settle down for them so they can learn. So when they go out there and play, they know what they can do. It's hard to even evaluate these guys because they're out there with so many other guys that don't know how to practice, don't know how to play. They're risking themselves getting injured. We don't want that. No, just do away with the rookie mini camp, man. I mean, I get it. Just do away with it. Bring them in at OTAs and let them learn from the vets. And then at the end of the time, when it's mandatory mini camp, like I say, now you can choose what veterans you want to go through the mandatory mini camp. And then you can say, hey, guys, I think you're good. Coach Kubiak used to say all the time, I don't need to see another Andre Johnson go ball. I didn't need to see a Matthew Stafford to Calvin Johnson go ball in minicamp. We've seen it for the last 3 weeks in OTAs. I don't need to see another one. You guys are good. Get some rest. We used to show up. We would work out. We will go out, we condition, and we will leave. We didn't have to sit through meetings that week, none of that stuff. Come in, get your workout, go out with the strength coach, condition, and then when we're walking off the field, they're walking out for practice, but you got the young guys and you got the rookies. I think that was a beautiful thing. I do not envy Coach Kubiak. Matter of fact, shout out Coach Kubiak for not having us do rookie minicamp.
Spoken like a true vet. I love it. Dalton, I want to go back to the odds right now from FanDuel as far as the NFC North is concerned, and you walk me through what other teams did just succinctly, in your opinion, to make themselves better, or if they were able to do that or not. The Lions still the odds-on favorite to take the NFC North at plus 150. Then you've got the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings, pretty much as it was laid out before the draft. So that tells me not a lot was done to improve the stock of either of those, or at least enough to move the needle. Did you see anything that would move the needle in your eye as far as picks from those squads go?
Not necessarily move the needle. I mean, there's some things that I liked and didn't like from each team, and they all had their goals. I mean, I think the theme for all four of these teams, but especially when you talk to me about Minnesota and Chicago, is they're trying to fix areas of need, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I think there's some picks that take a little more risk than others, but to be honest, the division as a whole, I went into this draft thinking this is top to bottom, probably the most competitive division in football. That doesn't change for me, man. I mean, you talk about all the games between these teams, it's going to come down to execution. They all have a lot of talent. They all have certain question marks for me as well, especially coming off last year when it felt like the division kind of got turned upside down a little bit, with the Bears winning it and all of that. But no, I think there were things to like and not like necessarily, from my perspective about each team's draft. So I think you're really talking about, especially with Kyler Murray there in Minnesota, we're presuming he's starting at quarterback. All four of these teams, any one of them could win this division. It is so competitive. And I think they all had probably roughly about the same draft grade. The Packers might have lagged behind a little bit. I like some of their picks, but they didn't get a first round pick. And, it's just tougher to fix your team up when you don't have a first rounder. But I think they all did some things that are going to make them better, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
When we last spoke after round one, GQ walked us through his draft story. Fabulous draft story. Special to be drafted. We all knew that Fernando Mendoza was going to go number one, but let's go to Mr. Irrelevant to wrap up the show as he wrapped up the draft, the 257th pick. Khalil Red Murdoch, taken by the Denver Broncos out of the University of Buffalo. What do you know about this kid? And GQ, when we get to you, just how special it is to be drafted at all, whether your name is called first or last?
This is a playmaker, man. I mean, you watch Buffalo games, in the MAC, and look, the MAC is known for really good defense. It's cold weather, North and Midwest football, and this guy, he just flies to it, man. It's almost like, to be honest, it's kind of like the MAC version of Jacob Rodriguez, where you're just like, yeah, a little bit undersized. I don't know if he's a great athlete, but he's just constantly making plays on the ball, and he's one of those linebackers that he's just like, hey, my job is to force turnovers. This is what I do. I'm swinging for the fences. It might work against me once in a while, but both in run defense and in coverage. I mean, he's a really good athlete. I believe he was a running back, I want to say, in high school. I think a two-way player, running back and linebacker. And you can tell the athleticism. Even if he picks a ball, if he gets it in his hands, it's kind of like Rodriguez, where it's like, well, he knows what he's doing with this. I mean, he understands. He gets the idea. So I think the Broncos, it's a really good – I think that last pick is so often like, yeah, I look at it and I go, throw it away. But, like, I think considering their lack of depth at linebacker, it wouldn't shock me if he helps him out at some point. He's gonna hustle his butt off on special teams, no question. He just plays with so much attitude, and he's wanting to make plays on the ball all the time. I think Denver's gonna like him.
Yeah. And Z, just on being drafted, whether you're Mr. Irrelevant or Mr. Number One, just how special that feeling is.
I mean, it's special, getting drafted. Like I said, those guys on the first day, they know they're going to get drafted. It's just a matter of when, right? I mean, very rarely do you have somebody that's projected first round that goes completely undrafted, right? So those guys know that they're going to get drafted. They just don't know when. Mr. Irrelevant, he did not know he was going to get drafted. Right. He was one of those guys that was like, hey, man, if it do happen, it's going to be late, may not happen. I hope it happened. And so when it does happen, it's kind of like one of those things where it's just, out of 250 something people, your name got called. And that's a huge deal. It doesn't matter if it was last. Your name got called, and that's a special moment. Some people may feel like, man, he would have been better off not getting drafted and being able to sign as a undrafted guy anywhere he wanted to. Now, because it's a lot that comes with being Mr. Irrelevant, you know what I'm saying? Just being that, having that title, it's something about those guys, man. We've seen it, like I say, recently with Brock Purdy, right? We've seen, like, Mr. Irrelevance, those guys they're a little special. And so I think just based off of what, Dalton just said about him, I think he's a guy that probably will excel in that role of being Mr. Irrelevant. He go out and make some plays. He's going to have a story behind him. He's going to have the eyes on him because he was Mr. Irrelevant, right? And so I think I'm happy for him. I know what it feels like to get your name called. And to the guys that didn't get their name called, it's not over for you. You just got to go out and continue to work. You got to just go out and continue to work. And the guys that got their names called, you're not solidified either. You still got to go out there and you got to go to work. The journey, I know you feel like the journey's been going on for a long time, but the real journey is just not getting started. Like this is a different ball game, and the reality of it is you're just not getting started. So celebrate this weekend, enjoy it, and get back to work, man. So kudos to him being Mr. Irrelevant. I can't wait to see him play.
And for those who did not get drafted, as Glover says, there's still a path to the NFL. In fact, the Lions have signed 9 undrafted free agents as of the time of this recording. We won't see them in rookie minicamp. Glover's glad for that. We'll see what they've got when they turn it on for real at mandatories a little bit down the road. So hopefully we'll hear from some of those names. We'll bring them to you when that happens here on Believe in Lions. Our thanks to Dalton Wasserman, co-host of the Preferred Walk-On College Football Show, the star of the show, Glover Quin, back once again as we look back at the 2026 NFL Draft and the 7 players that the Lions took. And hopefully we'll hear from all of them as they try to impact this team going forward. Guys, thank you so much for the time. Everybody else, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share and enjoy. And thanks for joining us on this edition of Believe in Lions, brought to you by FanDuel.